let's start with the process of making the musical.
Yes, and let's first of all bring in John Dupre, who wrote the music for this musical, whom we didn't mention, but it was created by us both. I think we had the idea, and we met at Alice Deli, and we talked about it, and we went to see a group of people that night doing the HMS Pinafore in full drag. All of them were in drag. And that put us completely in the mood to write Spamalot, because it is a sort of pantomime, and it has sort of, that's the sort of model in which is an English form of strange entertainment, which the English do in the holiday time, and they put on these awful pantomimes, which are really quite bad, but we love them.
Everyone's seen Has anyone here American enough to not know what a pantomime is? Do you know what a pantomime is? Okay, you know what a pantomime? You know what a pantomime? I'll go and make sure every single one. You know what a pantomime is? Okay, good. If you're shaking your head no, you've got a mask on, very responsible. Pantomime, they'll do plays, but not good plays, and they'll usually be like written by a community of people, and so when the villain comes on stage, he'll be like boo, hiss, and usually they'll get like a B-list celebrity or a C-list celebrity. So like, imagine like a Real Housewife playing Jafar in Aladdin or something. They'll come on stage and they'll be like, "Fuck you, Bethany Frankel." It'll be like that type of thing. And so that's sort of what,
that's a very good description of pantomime, indeed. Yeah. But it's the first theatre you're taken to in England at the age of 7 or 6. You're young, you're little. And it's the first experience of show business. And what's quite nice is the fourth wall gets broken pretty often. Mm-hmm. And I think that's quite nice. It's subversive. It reminds you are watching a show. And, the odd thing is, though, that the principal boy is played by a woman. And she has usually long tights on, and very, very attractive, I have to say, even at 7. And then the mother is always played by a man. So it's always a drag role. Some comedian comes on who's been there doing it for 60 years. And so it is bizarre about...
That's not all you're describing Peter Pan in particular.
No, I'm describing all pantomime. All pantomimes have a principal boy played by a man, by a girl.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
And the leading... Oh, hello! is a woman. Mm-hmm. She played by a man rather badly, like I just did. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, all right, in terms of like adapting it from the movie.
Yes.
From the film, was that pantomime spirit something that you think was already in the film?
I think it's very much partly Python. There's that, and there's also breaking of the fourth wall quite a bit occasionally in Python. I think the most difficult thing to do was to take a film, which was Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and it had 98 characters. Well, you can't put 98 characters on stage anywhere, let alone on Broadway. And so the first thing was to say, well, how do we make this? What's the story? And the second thing was, where's the intermission? That for me is always, if you're adapting something, you're going to go, take them up and build it up, intermission, make them crazy, off they go for a drink, come back in part 2, they have a little nap, then they wake up a bit, and you've got them, you take them home. And that's the way. You don't want them to leave at the intermission. You've got to stop them leaving at the intermission. I say that as a great lever of it at intermission. I've seen Act 1 of most things. Sometimes quite good.
Yeah.
But not worth staying. Not better than dinner, I think, usually about halfway through.
What are some of the things you've left early?
Oh, I mean, it would be in England quite a while ago,
All right, but give us some...
I can't remember because I left. I don't have anything gossipy to let you know. I did sell my tickets for Andrew Lloyd Webber's, what's the religious one?
All of them? Oh, Jesus Christ Superstar. They're all saying Jesus Christ.
Yes, Jesus Christ Superstar. I had tickets and I panicked and sold them. That's as close as I got to walking out of that. I did walk out of the other one, the one with the mask on. That went on for hours.
Cats.
Cats, that's it. Yeah.
I've never seen Jesus Christ Superstar. My people don't believe in that musical. So it's a warning. No, sorry. In terms of, are there any things that, I'm really curious about the process of adapting it, because 98 characters, moving anything, there's so many tortured adaptations of things on Broadway. And there are brilliant adaptations as well, but things that have been adapted, there's a SpongeBob adaptation, Legally Blonde has been adapted, Tootsie's been adapted, Mrs. Doubtfire's been adapted, The Outsiders have been adapted. Like, in fact, now that I think about it, there's a whole category. Yeah, but
they were all post-Spamalot. I mean, the thing was, when I started to write Spamalot, there was no musical comedy. And I mentioned it in the book. It was all people with plates on their faces, you know, going underground the sewers in France. Now, I found that very funny, personally, but it wasn't supposed to be funny, and the rest of the people weren't laughing, which is why I had to leave. But, I think what you're saying is, how do you adapt something that is the hardest thing for me was to face the fact that it was a very well-known movie, and it was 30 years old at the time, and it had been seen by everybody. And how do you, I thought, well, I know the Python fans will come, but what I want to do is make a show that people who don't know Python will actually come and enjoy.
But that's why I'm so fascinated, because like Monty Python fans and Broadway fans, they're two very different sets of virgins. And so it's just like, right? Like, because there's such specific, tiresome people, right? Like Monty Python fans, that was me. And musical theater fans, those are the men I was interested in college, you know? Like, they're very different types of folks. And so the fact of the matter is, like you said, I think the reason that there hasn't been, because I ask all the time, Jeffrey Seller is a really good friend of mine, is a Broadway producer who did Rent and Hamilton and various other shows, says that comedy is the hardest type of thing to write for Broadway.
The point I was going to make is when I was writing it, there were no comedies. And then what happened was, miraculously, Mel Brooks opened the producers. And even more miraculously, I was there opening night. And it was brilliant. It was so funny. And it was such a relief. You know, nobody was, you know, there was no helicopters landing on stage. It was all of that. MTV musical was out the window. The best form is the comedy musical. Because you get a good laugh and a little bit of a song, a bit of a nap, good laugh. You know, it's very nice. It keeps you going. And that's, I think, the point. And the thing I learned most about adapting into a musical was that the music does not stop and you do a song. It must evolve the plot, or it shouldn't be in there. And Mike Nichols said the three most important things about a musical are the play, the play, the play. And that's what he went on about and worked his arse off, just pushing it into a, because it doesn't really have a plot, the Holy Grail movie. And it certainly doesn't have an end. The police... And it's my fault. It was my end too. The police come on and arrest the film.
Wait, why is that your fault? Was that your...
It's my fault because I suggested it, but the reason was we were about to have this tremendous battle. We set it all up. All these people, da, 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 all these people, da, 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 and you do close-up. And now suddenly we have 10 extras on each side. So that's, you know, that's not much of a battle to end the film with. So that was my solution. And my daughter said, when she watched it for the first time, she said, "Is that the end?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "That's absolute shit." And yeah, I think she's right. So one of the things that did evolve was how to end this play. And for a while, we had the police car come on stage.
No way.
Absolutely. We didn't actually do it, but it had to be a Chicago police car because we were going to open the previews in Chicago. And then we had the Bridge of Death. It was a tremendous thing where people would drop down and, you know, far too dangerous to put on stage something like that, and silly, really. So,
I mean,
how do we end it? We had a
you were saying how does it end?
It ends with a wedding.
That's right.
And now, to me, the interesting thing is what you find in a script when you work on it. And I did 17 drafts of this. When you work on it, ideas come to you and that were already somehow in the text. For example, in the film, Michael Palin plays the romantic hero, and all the girls want to shag him. And he's not allowed to do that because John Cleese comes in and rescues him and pulls him out of this and to escape from this peril. And Mike says, "Oh, could I have a bit of peril?" "No, we've got to go, got to go, got to go, got to go." And they run out, and just at the end, as they're leaving frame, Mike says, "Oh, I bet you're gay," and goes. And I use that in Act 2, where Lancelot comes out and reveals himself why he's so angry and mad and cross, is he's really gay, and he's fucking repressed. And he comes out, and we do a whole gay Peter Allen number. His name is Lancelot. We know he can't a lot. Yeah. That's right. So, anyway. So the point I was trying to make was that the thing I found was you couldn't end a play with King Arthur, or you couldn't end it with Michael's character Galahad with the Lady of the Lake, because that, that's wrong. So it had to be King Arthur. So I said, well, all right, the Lady of the Lake has to end up with King Arthur. And then, of course, he says, do you have a name? And she says, of course, everybody has a name, Arthur. He says, what's your name? She says, my name is Guinevere. And they go, holy shit, the rest of the night go, because there's been no indication of this. And that just, to me, it was great. It just fell into place that clearly she was the Lady of the Lake. That was, that he was a
I'm
marrier.
Completely lost, if I'm being honest with you. My grip of the Arthurian legends is non-existent. I saw the show twice, but...
Right, but, Arthur marries Guinevere.
That's right.
And then I think Lancelot shags her in the real books, isn't it?
In the real world?
Well, no, in the books.
Oh, okay.
I think it all breaks up because of a bit of a, But
okay.
It's not really Broadway territory, is it?
No, it's more like Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster and everything like that. But I shouldn't.
All right.
This is being recorded.
Anyway.
It's fantastic.
I'd like.
Will you tell? Wait, you want to go to the cow?
No, I was just filling in for you. I mean,
No. I was going to ask you about. I put some notes in the back of this book to.
You wrote in my book.
I wrote in your book.
Jesus Christ.
I just want to finish it, but I want to ask you about some of the people because you got to work with Mike Nichols, who's one of the great film, theater, comedy geniuses of all time, and. Your description of him is both loving and very intense, and I was just wondering if you could relay some Mike Nichols anecdote, Mike Nichols wisdom, because like you said, he was really serious about finding the story of the show. Within the book, he's very focused on finding out what the musical is about. But yeah, I was wondering, what was it like to work with him?
He said to me once, he came late for rehearsal, and he said, I'm sorry I'm late. The traffic was crazy. The whole of the Upper East Side was Yidlock. He said it.
A warning!
My arse off, but then he was happy. He made me laugh.
That's really funny.
It's good. Anyway, I was a big fan of his when I was at college, and I had the albums, and it was Nichols and May, and they were really, really funny, improvising. And very good, very modern comedy. It was very nice. And I was in New York in about 75. I went to a party, and this man talked to me, and I talked to him for an hour and a half. Boom, 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 boom. And then he left, and I said, who was that? And they said, it was Mike Nichols, duh. And I went, oh, shit. Because I'd never seen him. I'd only heard the album. Mm-hmm. So I didn't recognize him. So that's how we met.
But you guys had a bit of a dust-up. You have some big arguments in this book.
Yes, I kept that in because we were pals for 15 years. And then the producer asked me who I'd like to direct Spamalot when we finally finished it and sold it. And I said, I'd like Mike Nichols. And he said, well, yeah, but, you be real. I mean, he takes ages to reply and respond. I said, well, send it to him because he likes our music, which he did. And I know him, he's a friend of mine. And so we sent it to him, and a few days later, I picked up the phone, and it was Mike, and he said, yes, 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 which was a fantastic moment, because he made it, really. Mm-hmm. And he made the Pythons comfortable because he was a comedian. He made me comfortable because he was obsessed with it being funny. But more importantly, he was obsessed in it being a play, and it had to be about something. And he would always say to his actors, you must take this seriously. If you don't take it seriously, why should they? I thought it was a really good note for actors, that one, on comedy. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, they're doing the Knights Who Say Knee. And he said, nevertheless, they must believe they are.
There's a whole scene here where you guys are sitting in rehearsal, and he comes in, he's like, I figured out what the show's about. And you guys are like, okay. whatever. But it feels like you guys had a lot of the arguments that are in these recountings are about the sort of ethos of how to make something like this, about how to like. There's something I love that you wrote in email about the head versus the heart.
Right. There was a point in the show in Chicago when it was very, very successful. Mike carried on making cuts, which it's really interesting. You got a hit show, and he takes out 2 or 3 numbers already still. And people were very upset because there was a song by Sada Ramirez called The Cow Song. And it was, what happened is that towards the end of Act 1, the English people are going, shall we come and see your Grail? And they say, oh, piss off your English people. And they taunt them. And the English feel very, very bad and eventually run away. But before they did, in the first version, the whole stage revolved, and we went back inside the French castle, where Sada Ramirez was dressed as a cow, in a Christian Dior cow ensemble, with a big cigarette, and she's leaning under a lamppost with 2 French gendarmes smoking a cigarette. That was big. Everybody, all the French came on Walster, da, da, da. They're all saying goodbye, and then they're saying goodbye to the cow, and then the castle revolves, and then the English people are there, and the cow comes flying over and lands on Patsy. Not a laugh. Not a single laugh. Because now we know who the cow is. She's just being sacrificed and so we identify with the cow. So we don't laugh. So the minute we took the cow song out, cow lands, huge laugh. So,
but there was a big argument over cutting the song.
Not with the comedians, which is Mike and me. I mean, we needed the big laugh. It gave everybody loved it, but it was beautiful and put them gently to sleep. And then it was an intermission almost, but you've got to keep them awake for the intermission.
But there's
that's the main rule of show business.
There's a thing in the line though that I'm referencing. Sorry to stick on this. I'm sure you guys are like, who cares? But you write this email. I close my computer. I'll reply tomorrow. What I want to say, I'll probably never send. It is interesting to me that when people raise head v heart, they always assume that thinking with your heart is somehow morally superior to using your brain. Well, bollocks. You might as well talk about farting with your elbow. Your head is what does the thinking for you to spare you from the emotional mess you get into when your emotions lead. Da, 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 da. And my head tells me the show is much better for the cuts. My heart is sorry for those who disagree and for Sarah, but that's it. It is an interesting way to make comedy. No, don't you think?
What is?
Well, being like, I'm glad you feel this way, but I'm glad for the feeling behind the thing, but ultimately, fuck you, the head is the winner.
Well, the head has got to be the winner because that's what you think and write with, and why you invent. I mean, you can't think with this. Is a fucking pump. All right, that's all it is, a fucking pump. You can buy one down the street for about $15. But
a heart.
A heart. Well, almost. It does what your heart does, which is that. You don't want to think with that, do you? I mean, it's silly. I think it's a cliche. I think it comes from Disney. I started to write an anti-Disney song, about farting with your elbow. Why don't we, why don't we skate with our kneecaps? All the stupid bits. And but I never got around to finishing it.
Maybe it ends with a police car coming on stage. But I just I like the idea that there's the comedy of this piece. And then there's the narrative, the laughs, and then there's the sort of musical elements and the crafty bits, and that you and John and Mike and Casey Nicola, the choreographer, spend a lot of time trying to line those things up in service of this musical that doesn't quite exist as a form on Broadway. So.
Right, but for me it was very simple. When I finally cracked it, I thought, oh, it's the 7 Samurai. They all come in, they all meet, they all get together, and off they go on their quest. And that's the simple plot. And whatever happens at the end, happens at the end. But they've got to be, and so it was just putting it into the right order. When we were writing the film, we hardly had time to rewrite, so we didn't really put any depth into it. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the plot and evolving. And so that, for me, was the secret, to do it that way.
In terms of the folks, besides Mike Nichols, What was your experience with the actors like? What were they?
Well, the actors were lovely. I mean, when you get the actors in, it's just wonderful. And we had always wanted Tim Curry for Arthur, and he read it a couple of times up at our house. I think Ed Begley did it once on the read. But, so we wanted her, and then we had created this new role called the Lady of the Lake, who doesn't exist in the film. She's referred to. She says, the Lady of the Lake, her arm clad in finest scimitar. So we made her character, because I thought we need a big black performance in this musical to kick some. There's all white boys running around, you know. So we had, first of all, we had to put all the ladies in, which is great. Now you've got a show happening. And then I thought, well, we can't. Let's keep them one character each, so we can follow their story through. And I made all the bits they played into their character. So Mike Palin's bits became all the bits that are in the play were bits from the film, played by him, but not necessarily the same character. So I tried to make it clear and simple.
Is it weird to see stuff that you had in your brain as one person's thing for 40 some odd years suddenly represented by like David Hyde Pierce or Tim Curry or any of these folks?
Well, it's very weird with Python, because people always say thank you for Python, but they forget that there's 6 of us, and 6 of us wasn't written by us, you know. So, but it was a group, it was a great group, but you don't feel the same way as you do to something you've created entirely from scratch. So it was an adaptation, and my job was to make the adaptation work in a theatre. So people, and I was really thrilled in Chicago. At one of the early previews, when I heard 2 ladies behind, I said, "Oh, I've never heard of this lot, but I like this stuff. It's funny." And they went off to buy Python. So I think it did succeed in Chicago in finding people who weren't just, didn't know what it was going to be.
Yeah, talk about those first previews a little bit, if you don't mind, the Chicago ones. Talk about this stuff. What changed from the beginning of the run to the end of the run most significantly? Sorry, it's a big question.
Most of the rehearsal time, which was about 6 or 7 weeks, and it was in New York, and most of it was spent rewriting Act 2, because we simply didn't have an Act 2. I mean, I thought, well, we've got to get, King Arthur has to meet the knights, round them up, God has to appear, give them a quest. God, played by Steve Martin, I have to say, in second time on Broadway, played by Steve Martin. Before that by somebody called John Cleese, a beginner, I believe, but he was in it. And so that's how I thought of it.
But stuff came out, right? Obviously, the cow song came out.
Well, that's stuff we'd put in, so it's easy. I mean, we must have written about 40 songs or more.
What?
There's lots of shit on here. Oh, yeah. Mate,
wait, you wrote 40 songs?
Well, yeah, at least, yeah. I mean, we would go, but what we would do with John and I, if we write a song, we go and demo it so it sounds good. If you play it to somebody, it isn't just all. And the only song they wouldn't buy was a scene I was sure that would go in. It's in the film. Mike is trapped by all these young ladies, right? And some of them says, there's going to be a spanking tonight. Now, that's, for me, it's a fucking giveaway song right away. Wrote it, spanking, there's gonna be a spanking, there's gonna be a spanking tonight. So I thought,
that's crushing.
Exactly. We'll put it on separately. But so we wrote this, and they kept cutting it. Mike and Casey hated it. They hated the whole concept of it. So we tried another different song, and we tried it this way and that way. And in the end, after the 3rd demo of the 3rd song of Spanking, I realized that we were never going to get this on Broadway, John and I. This was forbidden territory, and I think probably right. From hindsight, I think it was a good call.
Is that a pun?
It's right, yes.
Yeah.
So anyway...
40 songs?
Yeah,
so a whole nother musical out of the musical that wasn't in the musical?
Yeah, but you don't have a play. The play is the thing. You can have 40 songs. It's not a play.
Just put it in Brian.
In what?
Just do Life of Brian.
I wrote Brian. I tried Brian, but then they vetoed it. The Pythons vetoed it.
Okay.
I wrote 5 drafts. We recorded 7 songs. I was so sure we'd do it. And then I sent it to them. I said, no, we decided you can't have permission for this.
Well, we'll send them this tape. Maybe it'll change their minds.
What do we send?
I said we'll send him the tape of the
There was a
groans
good-
that we
there's a-
just got.
there's a lovely song you'd like. It's called Romans or Jews.
I know who I'm picking.
Exactly. Well, so was Brian, you know.
You have it.
Are you a Roman or are you a Jew? Is the theme of Brian. Because I found a sneaky ending, which I won't put on film, because it'll be nicked. But
I'm a Jew, but I like to think I can pass for Roman.
you're pretty Roman. You look Roman, aren't you? Yeah, you do.
I look like
yeah,
who?
Yeah, you could play young Augustus.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
no, very much so.
That's nice. He's the one who
In
eats
the
all
new
the.
musical.
He's the one who eats all the chocolate cake in Matilda. So I really. Or no, Willy Wonka. Well, I fucked the joke. Fantastic. Great stuff.
Do you want to go again? Or should we just
No.
move on? Okay.
Goodbye, everybody. No, it's kidding.
Right.
So the show. So you do the show in Chicago. I remember from reading the book. It's very cold, and it's a big smash hit. And then it goes to. By the way, did you think this was going to be as successful as it was?
Not in the slightest, no. I thought it would be funny. I thought, well, we'll make it funny. How we got opening in Chicago with previews from about November through to January, February. But it was freezing, but I thought, we'll be funny, but I don't know who we'll attract. We sold out all our run before we got to Chicago.
Wow.
And I think that was due partly with Mike, partly Python, and partly those actors, David Hyde Pierce and Tim Curry and Tank Azaria. Mm-hmm. They're a big draw. I mean, they're funny.
I mean, with the new one, where you compare
Yes.
the new one, I'm saying the new one as in 2020, the 2023, it was 2023, right, when it went to Broadway, or was it?
Yes, it
yeah.
was. You're right. November-ish. Yeah.
Were you comparing those 2023 actors to your 2005 actors?
I love their company. I thought they were hilarious. First of all, Michael Urie is a genius.
Oh my God.
And then who was the guy who played Lancelot? I always forget his name. Taron
Egerton.
Taron Egerton.
No, Taron Killam, sorry. Taron Egerton plays Elton John in the Elton John biopic. Taron Killam was on SNL and plays...
Yeah, but the guy who played Lancelot was from SNL.
Yeah, Taron Killam was Taron Killam.
No, it was Egerton.
Taron Egerton is like the lead of like Guy Ritchie action movies. He's what? All right, shut up. What the phylum of nerd is very. You're right. It is Matthew Vaughn.
They did a joke on stage, this new company, because it was
Yeah, you had to change up some of the jokes, right? Of course.
Well, because the king was, we had people of color on the stage. It was all mixed up like it should be. And so, that's how, that was different for start, but they did a joke only they could have done. No white people could have got away with one of the jokes they did.
Do you want to repeat?
No, it was an end joke. I'll tell you the feed line and you can get it.
Go to the camera right there and right there.
No, they said, so go away, you silly condigates. And the two of them went, what did he say? And they were about to go and kill him. But then they said, oh, not Knigget Knights. Oh, okay, no, sorry. Yeah. And that was so daring and so funny. It made me laugh my ass off, I must say.
I like the George Santos joke. There was a George Santos joke.
There wasn't there. It was in the, I don't remember exactly where. Anyway, I thought they did a very good job. They were funny, and they were all great.
Michael Urie in particular is so good. The thing is, when I watched it on stage, my first thought was, this is actually a really difficult show to pull off. And Sarah Ramirez it's a great showcase for actors, this show. And Sarah Ramirez, I think, did Sarah Ramirez win a Tony for it?
Yes, best young performer on Broadway. Best young, yeah.
It's a really fantastic. I mean, she blew you. The book is. Oh, no! She blew you away. She blew you away. That's not.
A slip of the tongue, Tanya. That's what it was.
A
simple slip of the tongue. Anyway, what was so funny was I wrote this part for this big, huge, because I've been working on the musical. We had this wonderful lady who was so funny. She played the kangaroo. Mm-hmm. And I thought, we need somebody big who can just hold the stage and with a great voice and, as a contralto, kind of powerful ballad singer. Mm-hmm. And Mike couldn't find somebody. And they said to Monty, can she be Hispanic? I said, yeah, sure, she can be. So we went into the theater, and on came this woman and the pianist, and she started to sing, I think, I can't remember what she sang, but she just blew us all away completely. We were all like, and that was it. We found Our Lady of the Lake, and that was Sada. And I think she'd been in the Paul Simon musical, which didn't last very long, but she'd done very little.
Someone knew the title. What is it? It's called Cake Man?
Cape
Man. Okay.
Cape Man, yeah.
That sounds
it was
a bit more.
about a mass murderer. One of the normal subjects for a musical.
So Sarah Ramirez, by the way, there's a scene in this book where...
Sada is she likes to be called Sada.
What?
Sada.
Sada Ramirez?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And she's here tonight.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
And she's pissed.
There's a scene where Miss Ramirez is being like Lou Reed and David Bowie. By the way, you read this book and you're like, man, people who went to theater back then were a lot more impressive than like. I went to go see Moulin Rouge and Carrot Top was sitting in front of me, and so. In this book, you're like Lou Reed and David Bowie are sitting next to you, complimenting. It's not meant to be. This book is a who's who. Everyone went to see your show. Literally, it feels like everyone except for Jesus Christ himself came to see a show. Was there anyone who came to see it where you're like, I can't believe this person is in the audience watching the thing that I've written?
Yes, there was somebody from the government. There was
George Santa? No.
No, but yeah, no, you can't control who comes to see a show. But
I meant that you were impressed by, not that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that Donald Rumsfeld is here to see it.
But it was somebody in that government. Who was the foreign secretary? What's her name?
Condoleezza Rice?
I think she came. I think she went shopping and was found. Yeah.
Everyone said Condoleezza Rice, and then many of you continued to say it as if no one else had said it.
She's about the only person intelligent enough in that government to watch a play, isn't she? I mean, now nobody would go to Broadway. Sorry, Alex. Not to be controversial.
I don't think you're referencing Donald Trump as controversial. I think everyone is doing it. All right, why don't I'm curious about once it was rapturously received, if it made the process, like when did the creative process, I guess, end on the show? Did you keep tinkering with it? When did you stop tinkering with it? Because once the things had hit, obviously.
It opened, I think by the time it opened, one would go now and again and suggest a different line, all right, but nothing structure was altered at all. Because by the time it opened, it opened I think in February on Broadway, and then, on previews, and then it opened in March the 17th. Mm-hmm. And it was nice.
You told me when we were chatting last that you were going to see a group in Mexico do the show, or I'm not misremembering.
Yes, no, you're right.
You've seen this show all over
I have.
The world.
I decided at a certain point that if they invited me to an opening, and I hadn't been to that city, I'd fucking well go. Mm-hmm. Because it's a terrific way. They look after you, they meet you, put you in a hotel, feed you. Of course you have to answer fucking questions all day. And you never see, Copenhagen, I don't think I got outside the hotel. A wonderful, wonderful Cope. I never even saw the little barmaid. Sorry, mermaid.
Okay.
Yeah. I never saw that. I didn't see anything. I didn't see Danny Kaye, nothing.
I'm shocked that I understand both of them. When I'm like, who the hell is Guinevere? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've seen it. Have you seen it?
Japan. We went to Japan. We didn't actually see it. We went to Japan for the opening. I've never seen it weird. I saw it in Hungary, Budapest, and Budapest was lovely. They loved it in Budapest. And they kept putting it on. They put a different cast in. So when we finally visited, all three of the casts, Arthurs, all came on and did the play. There were three Arthurs, three Ladies of the Lake, three Lancelots. It was hilarious. It's a fucking madness. Anyway.
It's like your Last Supper sketch.
Yeah, you think, this is Budapest.
Who are the real Python?
Who knew? Yeah.
One Christ. Okay.
Right.
But where was the show where they changed a whole shitload and you had to put a stop to it? Am I misremembering?
Oh, that was in France, in Paris. The Paris opened, and the guy hadn't even taken the play or the book. He'd just done his own adaptation of the movie. So we had to stop him, and then he did an adaptation, and he was in it, and he was King Arthur, and he was really funny. And it just reopened again last year in Paris, and was a big hit, won lots of Caesars, and it's coming back again. And in Paris they have zero musical theatre. They have girls with nice breasts. Anyway, but they don't have proper musical theatre as we know it.
I mean, that's fantastic. I kind of want to see that. I kind of want to see his adaptation. I want to see the fan fiction.
He was very good. He came and visited me, and he's a lovely man. He played King Arthur. He translated it. He directed it, and he played King Arthur. He's very funny.
Have you seen high school productions?
Yes, I saw a high school production there, and they were very good.
Really?
Yes, really funny. And they know their Python, you see. They know it.
Do you think that there's like a, I don't know if the French have a phrase for it, but like a je ne sais quoi, that is like a Python-y thing that is, like, I guess maybe I'm circling around, like the right amount of fourth wall breaking, the right amount of winking at the audience, the right amount of...
Yes. Well, Mike was always very good at stopping them doing that sort of thing. He wouldn't let them improvise. If they added something, he'd make them take it out. He said to them every night before the show, kill your babies. And he means, that's true, because sometimes an actor will find something, get a laugh, next night it's in, next night it's longer and in, next night it's longer and in, and the whole show becomes big, filled with people who are doing their little bit, they added, So he was ruthless. He'd make them cry. I saw him make grown actors cry. Mike, I'm very proud of that. I never got that. I tried very hard, but no.
There are 2 firings in this book.
2?
There are 2 firings in this book.
Yes.
And he names names. There are 2 firings in this book of Mike Nichols just being like, and then there's another thing where like someone does something and Mike Nichols is like, can I fire them? And you're like, no, Mike, please, we need the actors.
Well, Mike's rule is for any group of actors was no assholes. That was his rule for all productions. And if people didn't get it, he was very quick to just... he said to me once about this guy, he said, do you think we can do it? And I said, I can probably help him with the northern accent. Yeah. He's having trouble with that. But he said, no, I'll fire him. And he went and fired him at lunchtime, so it was... I learned from that. I think that's right. If people aren't up to it, you save them the embarrassment.
Yeah. But it wasn't that he wasn't up to it. It's that he starts hitting another actor in the middle of rehearsal.
He was hitting an actor in the rehearsal, yes. Well, that's not up to it, is it?
No.
He was hitting the funniest actor. He was playing the father, and he kept slapping, and then he just slapped Christian all over the place. And there was like, Christian said, oh, time out. And there was this big, ugly moment when there's silence and everybody looks, And then, anyway.
I mean, if you did that to me, I think they'd like it. But it's, no. No. It's on camera. All right. I think if I can convince you, I know it's. Please do some reading, but I would really, really be thrilled if there was maybe the end, maybe the Tonys chapter, just to revel in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chapter where they get some awards.
Are you sure?
You can do whatever you want. You can do the cow stuff again.
Well,
or the acknowledgements.
Let me see. Let's try it, all right? Then we'll go to Q&A, is that right?
Yeah.
All right, Sunday, June the 5th, 2005. I'm in New York City at Radio City Music Hall for the 2005 Tony Awards. The Spamalot producers are here. The Nervous nominees are here. And we're all crammed into penguin suits for what is billed as Broadway's most glamorous night. Though I always thought that was Surrey and McKellen. We've been groomed and buffeted and cosseted and polished, and Tanya is looking very glamorous in some magnificent jewelry. A necklace, earrings, and a rather lovely expensive purple ring, which we have been loaned for the duration of the show by Harry Winston, the Fifth Avenue jeweler who first began the trend of lending sparklers to the stars at award shows like this. We've had a lot of fun choosing thousands of dollars of diamonds to bedeck the lovely neck of Tanya, And the final thing she chose was this beautiful purple amethyst ring, which she adores. During the reception that precedes the affair, Pinkerton operatives hover close, keeping a sharp eye on the millions of dollars of designer jewelry that sparkles on the ears and throats of many a Broadway star, glamorous, anxiously awaiting tonight's results. Just keeping an eye out for you, says one burly quarterback of a security guy who sees me looking at him. The only drawback is that, Cinderella-like, we must return the baubles to the store immediately once the night is over. I have to admit that I've never seen a Tony show before. It seems when God was doling out the showbiz DNA, I missed out on the Tony gene. Although I do love musical theatre, having grown up in a world of Gilbert and Sullivan. So I'm rather fond of musical comedy. Anyway, and then we talk about Mel Brooks mercifully revived the entirely extinct, virtually extinct musical comedy form, opening the producers. And there we are. Tonight, most of the audience of all sexes is drooling over Hugh Jackman, who is hosting the awards. Tanya and I are seated about halfway back in the hall, and about halfway through the show, I see Mike Nichols urgently heading up the aisle towards me. By then, of the 14 Tonys we've been nominated for, we've already lost 6. Not a single win. Mike reaches me. They're going to stiff us, he says. You have to think of something to say. In a previous lifetime, I used to write ad-libs for David Frost, so I'm not unqualified for this task. I'll have a go. Mike returns glumly to his seat, and I start racking my brain for something amusing to say that won't sound bitter and twisted, but on the contrary, incredibly mature and suitably grateful for being ignored and passed over completely. It's a bit like trying to write an altar speech for a jilted bride. And I'm so far into my task of trying to think of something funny and grown-uppy to say, which has barely progressed beyond Yahoo sucks, and we don't really mind because we do this stuff for laughs, not for statuettes. And Monty Python never got any awards. No Oscars, no Grammys, no Emmys, no Tonys, no Ritas, no Peters, no Ivors, no Conchitas, and that didn't hurt us any. Then I barely notice when I personally lose the next award for Best Book of a Musical. Advised by the virtually irresistible Hugh Jackman that this would be a good time, my gorgeous wife, in her glittering jewelry, exits to the bathroom under the watchful eye of a burly Pinkerton, during what is promised as a long commercial break. She's barely left her seat when she's instantly replaced by a mature lady with a large and very bizarre hat that resembles nothing so much as a ginger tomcat squatting on her head. It is axiomatic that there must be no empty seats visible at TV award shows. Consequently, highly dressed extras are employed to deftly slide into the gaps the minute someone heads for the bathroom or pops out for a nervous nicotine break. Of course, this is the very moment the cameras single out me and my wife for our close-up, as we bravely lose for Best Original Musical Score. I'm so busy trying not to laugh at this woman smiling proudly by my side, giggling in the knowledge that people all over America going, whatever happened to Tanya? And has he gone mad, taking up with an elderly cat woman? But I don't even have time to feel any disappointment. We have, after all, been to several Broadway award ceremonies recently, and Mike has picked up a variety of oddly shaped statuettes and made a series of increasingly funny speeches. My favourite, when yet again his name was announced, was watching him walk up slowly, look genuinely puzzled at the audience, and say sadly, "I miss failure." Well, tonight the pigeons of irony are certainly coming home to roost, as we continue to miss out on best choreography, best sets, best costumes, best new shoes, etc., etc. Finally, the Tony fairy relents, and the utterly deserving Sada Ramirez heads up the aisle to pick up the Tony for Best Actress in a Featured Role in a Musical, and to thank us, her parents, and Claritin. And then, of course, Mike's nightmare is over, as he inevitably wins yet another Tony for Best Director of a Musical. I crumple up my pathetic, half-written one-liners in relief. But fate has one more surprise in store for us. After a very long and occasionally interesting evening, the inestimable Hugh Jackman reads out the winner of the Best Musical of 2005. And incredibly and surprisingly, it's Monty Python's Spamalot. Wow, who would have thought that? I mean, our cast of knights and wenches spill out onto Hugh Jackman, whooping and hollering and hugging, and the auditorium is filled with beaming producers hurriedly heading for the stage. I beat them to it by a good yard and a half. Mike gives me a proud hug, and I barely restrain myself from kissing Hugh Jackman. There'll be other opportunities. We dance the night away, of course, and at the end of the evening, there's a strange coda. On the way home, our limo stops at the side door of Harry Winston. It's after midnight, and Tanya sadly pulls off the earrings, removes the glittering necklace from her glorious neck, and reluctantly slips off the ring from her finger, the very expensive purple amethyst ring. I take the package inside. In an office close by, a Pinkerton sits in shirt sleeves behind a large desk, taking back all the jewelry. I hand over the goodies and sign. In case I had second thoughts, I noticed prominently on the desk in front of him is a 38 police special. So we drive home. The limo does not turn into a pumpkin. Next morning, I got up early and went to Harry Winston's, where I bought the expensive amethyst ring for Tanya. She was surprised, thrilled, and overjoyed. After all, we had just won the Tony for Best Musical on Broadway. Thank you.
And she'll absolutely hate me saying this so much, but Tanya has the ring on. Tanya, will you just hold up your hand for that? No, you don't want. Ah, there you go. And if you're an enterprising jewel thief, please find her afterwards. You wrote for David Frost?
Yes.
The Snowman?
I wrote for David Frost from 1966. So, oh, I see.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
But, no. But I want to know about that. I didn't know.
No, not now. They don't know who David Frost is. Who knows who David Frost is?
Everyone's.
Oh, they do. Good.
These are Monty Python fans. These are fans of yours. These are fans of musical theater. They have very, very, very deep wells of obscure and irrelevant cultural knowledge. Promise you. They have opinions about Frank Langella's portrayal of Richard Nixon. They have opinions about Michael Sheen's appropriate.
Lovely play.
Ted, you want to do some stuff?
Written by the man who wrote The Crown.
What?
It was written by the man who wrote The Crown, what you're referring to.
Did you ever contemplate being in the show yourself?
No. I mean, I live in LA, and I wrote the Seussical. I wrote the outline treatment for the Seussical, and they asked me to play the Cat in the Hat for the read-throughs and things. And they wrote me a special song and everything. They said, please come to Broadway. I said, no. I've got a kid in school in LA. I'm not going to Broadway for 8 shows a night. So I was never...
You were in the show once.
I was in the show once. I stepped in. It snowed in Chicago and I couldn't leave, so I went for the matinee. And the second act opens with the historian coming on. And I said, oh, give me the spare costume. And I went on instead. And I thought, oh, this will be good. And then they went nuts. I forgot that. Mm-hmm. So it took about 10 minutes to shut them up. And then I started the thing, and then Christian says, he comes on and says, fuck off, Idol. And so I went off. So I did appear. Yeah.
I did it one time. It was pretty good.
Did you struggle with the creative tension between bringing originality and new life into it versus, satisfying the nostalgia and the fans and everything and staying true to the original?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I don't know whether one would have said that's what we were going to do at the beginning, but I think that's how it became possible to do the show, was only by introducing other elements that are not in the film, like the Lady of the Lake, like all the ladies dancing. I mean, they're in the film, but they're only in one scene. And so, I think the things that were added helped make it a play, which started off as a screenplay. So that's what you do.
How old are you?
10.
How old are you?
10.
No, not you, him.
Oh.
I'm 35.
Ooh.
Wow. What was your favorite thing that you did for Monty Python?
Made them lots of money. Sorry, no.
I used to do the books. I liked doing that. I invented the books. We used to put all sketches into a book and we'd release it around the holiday time. And they became a big thing. And now in England, everybody puts out funny books at Christmas, at holiday time there. And then, but they didn't before that. So I like doing that. I liked a lot of some of the stuff was really fun to do. I mean, adapting Spamalot was the best job I ever had, without any doubt, because of the people, Mike Nichols and Casey Nicholaw, and the people I work with.
It's a good question from a rude child.
I might as well ask you about the Royal Canadian Mounted Police skit, The Lumberjacks. How did you think about that song? I mean, who wrote it?
I didn't. It was Michael Penn and Terry Jones.
It's a clean answer to. I thought you were asking about the general concept of deforesting, but what's your name?
Karina.
How old are you? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Eric.
Yes.
I love performing in Spamalot. I thought it was great. But when writing a scene, because I'm a writer, and I'm often vexed with what do you cut, what do you keep, and how do you know when to stop tinkering? And how do you know when your gut just to say, it's freaking good?
Yeah, well, I think that was most impressive about Mike Nichols, because even when we made it a hit, and the audience loved it at the preview night, and we were going gangbusters, he still tinkered. We still tinkered before it went to Broadway. And we took out the cow song, we took out Burn Her, there was another song sung by Sada, when the guys find a witch, maybe burn her. When I was just a toddler in my nappy, burn her, put her on the barbecue and turn her. Scratch that witch before that witch can burn ya. Grill her, that won't thrill her, but it certainly will learn her. If you burn her, burn her till she's done all the way through. Yeah, anyway.
What? How do we get... I want an album of the rejected Spamalot song.
You'll have it in your phone tonight.
Hi, my name is Alec. Sorry to go off topic. I have a question about the book.
Yes.
Where is this new information thinking back, or were these your actual diaries?
These are my actual diaries. And what was the oddest thing was that 3 years ago, we were moving house, and I found them. I found this diary, and I'd forgotten I kept it. I'd completely forgotten, and it goes on and on. It goes to London. And I think I'd just come off the road on a tour where I'd written a Greedy Bastard diary, so I was used to blogging in the morning. So on my own, in the hotel, and I had time, I just write how I felt, just for myself. And I think that's the only excuse for this book, is that it's genuinely felt at the time. And that's why I left the arguments in, because I thought, if you take the arguments out, and showbiz is just a lot of lovey people saying, agreeing with each other, that's wrong. Disagreeing with people is very important. You should be able to disagree and fight with people like Python did, and then we go on and do the sketch. And we would fight about the oddest things in Python, about what sort of chair it should be. Is that chair's not funny? This is a funny chair. No, this is a funny, oh, that's not fucking funny. This is a funny chair. No! So, then you just, it's part of the process, so I left it in the book.
Wednesday, October 20th, 2004. A rather wonderful day. Mike is going on and on again about the perfidious people who keep theatrical diaries. I didn't fess up. Should I? I don't think so. It's not like I'm intending to publish this.
It's true. It was at a dinner at his place, and he kept going on and on. I think Richard Eyre or somebody had worked with him, had written diaries about him, and he didn't like it. So I thought, I better shut the fuck up about this then. But I didn't stop writing, which is interesting, because I think the diary process was for me. I was away from home, my wife, my child, and the dogs, everything. And I'm on my own in a hotel, so I just, this is how I felt at certain times during the making of this thing.
I hate to earnestly offer a compliment, but this it's all right. But the stuff that I was expecting it to be craft or stories about the minutia or stories about the parties and the social, but like there's a wonderful mix of all of this. It's a really great insight into a creative process and a performer's writer's experience of seeing that process come to life. And so I'm very glad you kept the diary. It's really, really excellent capture of a moment that lots of us would like to have lived in. So it's really, it's really sweet.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Another question?
Eric, when you came to our office to pre-sign the books, and I asked you about the genesis of the book, and you said you were cleaning out an attic and found it and thought, oh, maybe this is a book. So my question is, what else is in your attic?
Unfortunately, like all writers, I have thousands of things unfinished, all finished and rejected. I mean, that's what you do as a writer. You don't, all of what you write is about the tip of the iceberg, what comes out or gets published, because you try things and you work things and they don't work, or they do work, or nobody wants them at this time. I write every day. That's what I do. I like to write every morning. I get up very, very early, maybe 6 or 7 and 8. You know, I write until I can't, and then I stop being funny and I stop writing. it's you know, that's how it works for me, personally.
I hear this is Chuck Schumer's second favorite attic diary of all time.
Hi, I'm also over here. I'm Zoe. I'm curious where the impulse came to start mining history for comedy and how you zeroed in on because I'm a Roman archaeologist, so like how did you choose like Life of Brian and that historical period as being funny, and then also King Arthur as being funny? Like how did you choose those two topics?
Well, I think the funny is what we bring, our attitude we bring to whatever period or whatever we're looking at. You know, we're going to look for the funny. And I think it worked when we wrote the first draft of the Holy Grail. Arthur was about, maybe less than a third. It was just a little bits that ran through, but it wasn't all about Arthur. It was all these other people, and it came to modern day. They went to Harrods looking for the Holy Grail. You know, it was but when we came back, we put things away and come back after 3 or 4 months. It was perfectly obvious it should be about King Arthur, and there's a perfectly good legend. It's based on, you know, you know where you are. You know the world of the Holy Grail. You don't have to explain it. Why are you searching for a cup? You know, what? God the Almighty and All-Knowing has misplaced the cup. And that's why we're all going on. So it has things like that in, which are new, but I think would be the sort of Python attitude to this quest thing. But it works perfectly for the plot to have, you know, to use something that we know.
Hi, I'm Jack, and songwriting has always been such a big part of your career. Like, you've written some incredible songs. My question is, what song was like the hardest nut to crack? Like, you really had to like work on it.
The hardest song I ever tried to do was when we were doing The Cow. Instead of the Cow song, for a while we wrote Fetchez la Vache. And I wrote that, the fucking tune of Ravel's Bolero. Fetchez la vache, fetchez la vache, fetchez la vache, fetchez la vache. Oh, come, let's fetch the fetchez from the cow. La da 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 da, do do do. And it's really difficult because he never repeats the same. It sounds the same, but each time Ravel brings that fucking tune back, it's different. So for a lyricist, it's a nightmare. And I spent months on it, and then we discovered it was still under copyright. So anyway, it got dropped. It's out of copyright now. If anybody wants a song, half in French about fetching the cow, I have one.
No, I'll have the last question. Eric, how's it feel to be a legend?
Well, oddly enough, I wrote about it. I wrote about it. I'll read you to it. Here we are. And this is, I mean, being a legend is not really a help in life. Because fame doesn't spare you the miseries of depression or cancer, or we're all just humans, so we're all the fucking same. You know, Homo sapiens, all we are. And I noticed pythons have become legends quite a while ago. We used to be icons, and before that stars, and before that celebrities, and before that merely TV comedians. But the reaper keeps on reaping, and you go up a niche each time until finally ending up as myths, which is when you know you're dead. When I first noticed we become legends, I decided to keep a diary in which I wrestled with the intimate problems of being a legend. So this is my diary of a legend. Got up, Monday. Got up, was a legend. Had breakfast, went back to bed. Tuesday, got up, still a legend. Took the dog for a shit, went back to bed. Wednesday, exhausted from being a legend. Stayed in bed. Thursday, wife said, "You're not a legend, you're just a lazy old bastard." Friday, decided to look for new wife. Saturday, remembered John Cleese. Changed mind about looking for new wife.
Oh my God.
Cheaper to stay with the old one. Sunday, tired of being a legend, it's exhausting. I looked in the bathroom mirror and it appears fame has gone to my arse. Monday, I've decided to stop writing a diary about being a legend as I'm becoming the sort of person I would normally try and avoid. I've decided instead to become a national treasure. Tuesday, they said, "Piss off, we have far too many national treasures." In fact, the UK is now National Treasure Island. So I'm not quite sure what I am. I mean, I think we're becoming ex-legends rather rapidly, you know. And I think you either become old and bitter or old and better. And it appears that my job in life is cheering people up. And I have a song for it. I sang my song before the late Queen, dressed as a Japanese maid. I sang my song to Prince Charles in a tutu. I sang my song at a gala dinner for Mike Nichols, dressed as Emma Thompson in Angels in America, in a white dress with huge wings. I was shot out of a cannon at the London Olympic Games to sing this song live before 1 billion people. It's become the #1 funeral song in England. It's sung in wars, football matches, cricket matches, and you know what they're going to play at my bloody funeral.